In this session, we're going to take a look at working with inverted monochrome bitmaps. And this is nothing more than inverting the image and converting it to a monochrome. Here we have a tiger, and he is on a black background in the image. And with the inverted monochrome, what we're doing is we're using the black or the darker colored t-shirts as the background and the inverted monochrome as the foreground, so that we get the duotone and photographic look on the t-shirt with just a few colors. One thing I do want you to be aware of is that we want a perfect black background, or else we won't have perfect transparency for the background. We can check that with our eyedropper. Come over here with our eyedropper and we can see that this is actually set to 13, 13, 13. We want this to be 0, 0, 0 or perfect black. Right now it's about 95 or 96% black. I'll show you what happens if I don't have a perfect black background. I'll bring up my color factory and I'll click on inverted monochrome. That will process, and you can see I've got some gray there. I bring my eyedropper and I can see that I'm 5% of gray in the CMYK. That's not what I'm going to want, because if I go to my t-shirt, I'll minimize this back down to my taskbar, put this on top of my t-shirt, duplicate it, right click, you can see I'm going to pick up the gray by the white going on the black shirt. So we don't want to have any grayness in our black. We want a pure black, that way we get absolute transparency. I'll delete that, and I'll delete this also, and then I'll go select my image. I'll go to Effects, Adjust, and Tone Curve. This is an easy adjustment. I'll go to the eyedropper, come over here, click there. I can see that's where that gray is on the tone curve, and I'll just bring that down, and then I'll bring this up to 14 to make sure I go to perfect black, 14 because I was at 13, select OK, go back to my eyedropper, come back, and I can now see this is 0, 0, 0 or perfect black. That way it will be transparent when it's inverted and converted to a monochrome. Go back to my color factory, click on inverted monochrome. That will process, and we can now see that we have 0 color here, so it's perfectly transparent. Right click, duplicate this while I'm holding down with my left mouse button, bring that on top of the shirt, come over here, right click on the white, and we can see the tiger on the t-shirt, and we could resize that. Once again, these lines, if I zoom in, zoom out, they'll disappear. It's just the way Corel is rendering those. Now from here, if I want to change the color, I can go to my color docker from the outline, and we'll change that to a white, but we can go through and change the color. There's a pink look, come through, there's a magenta, there's down into the blues, into the greens, etc. And you can see the nice looks that you can get working with the inverted monochromes using the t-shirt color as the background color and the inverted monochrome as the foreground color. And now we have a duotone, and we can change the shirt color, let's say to something like a brown, and you can see that look. And we can go back to the inverted monochrome, go back to the viewer here for the color, and start to work and change that color, bring that into a red, and you can see it. And you can see how the color of the shirt interacts with the color of the monochrome. Very different than working with vector. Now we can also, and I'll go back to a black here, and we'll just quickly create a glitch effect here. It's kind of interesting how we can do this, and glitch is very popular these days. I'll take this and I'll just right click and make that a red, and then I'll just come here, left click, hold down, right click one time, move it just a little, not a lot, just for the glitch, and I'll right click and make that a red, and you can see the glitch effect in the design. And you can add some vector text and things like that to this and really dial this design in. Now here we've got the owl, and you can see that same thing here. First thing always, verify, is this 000, and it is. I can bring this down here and we'll duplicate that. Once again, same thing, go to my color factory, inverted monochrome. That'll come up here because we always offset a little bit so you don't lose your original image. It's up here. I'll bring that down here. Right click, change that to white. resize that to the size I'd want. Then I could bring in my logo, my text, or my vector, or what have you. Just double click and, left click, right click one time and duplicate that. Resize that. I can go here and hit the C key to center everything. Resize that to the shirt size. And that would be my owl design. Once again, I can take that and left click, hold down, right click, duplicate, and change the shirt color, let's say to a darker blue, something like that. Go to my owl inverted monochrome, go to the show color viewers, go into the oranges, left click, start to move around, and see what that's going to look like. Go down in more into the orange and dial that right in where I want. And then once again I could go and create a glitch look with that if I wanted to as well, just like I did with the tiger. Here we have the eagle, and you can see that's an inverted design. Now here I took this image, which is black and white, and I actually converted it from a photograph. So this image, I'll take this and I'll convert that to an inverted monochrome. That'll process, and that's up here. It's always offset a little bit, so you keep your original image. I'll bring this down here, and I'm going to change this to, let's say, a black for now. So we'll go with a 80% black for the fill, and then we'll right click for the shadow of the black shirt, and then we'll bring this, left click, right click, duplicate, and put this on top of the black t-shirt. We'll right click and change that to a white, and you can see that look. Now if you don't want that hard edge on the bitmap, you can handle that with the transparency tool. We'll go to transparency, and I'm going to go with a fountain type transparency, but I'm going to go with the rectangle, and you can see how that's set up and put a soft edge on that graphic. And if you zoom out, zoom in, you can get rid of those lines. It's just the way Corel renders once again. Now if I want to have a sky color in a t-shirt, let's say I'm using a blue t-shirt, you can see that effect. Now that's on the fill of the t-shirt, so I could go to the fill here, go to the view of the color docker, and bring that down into a darker color, or more into a sky blue up into here, and you can see the effect of the inverted monochrome. And then once again, if you had some text or logo, you could add that. And I got the monochrome there. I don't want that. Control Z, just left click and lasso the text. Make sure I get the X in the center, bring that down, and there you can see the design. Here we have it with some different color setups, and you can see the pop and the look that you get compared to vector working with the inverted monochromes on the darker or colored garments. And really, as I've said, it's always about working with the color of the garment against the monochrome. So here when we invert this really, the invert becomes our foreground, or the lightness that would be in the image, and the color of the shirt is the background color. Then we get that look with the purple and the yellow. And we can go, once again, dial this all in, go to outline, go to the view, and go through different looks and colors, depending on how you want that to look, or how you want it to pop, or the type of effect you're looking for. So this is working with the inverted monochromes, and we can get some really nice looks and effects with these very easily, very quickly, very different than vector, working once again with the darker and colored shirts and the inverted monochrome for some really different looks on your garments that once again are different than vector. And here again we could work with the vector just like we did when we were working with the monochrome to get some really different looks with the combination of the vector and the monochrome. So we'll wrap here for the inverted monochromes, and we'll continue in the next session.